Black guys or white guys?
Black guys.
Can you elaborate as to why specifically black guys?
Yes, black guys are melanated, and I want my children to survive. And I know that the only way for them to survive in the future is for them to have melanin in their skin. So that's the way for me to, you know, make my legacy continue.
Okay, I like that answer. That's actually a really unique answer. For you, black guys or white guys?
Black guys.
Can you
Hey, shalom, shalom. Call hello, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Is giving all praise to the Most High, in the name of His only begotten Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to our teachers, the elders, and apostles, the great millstone who taught us His truth and sincerity, peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad. Shalom to the 144,000. And real quick, we go on this video based off of what this woman just said. Okay, it's titled, White American Woman Shares Why She Prefers Black Men. All right, now we know that there's no such thing as a black man or a white woman. Okay, who you call black men are Israelites. Okay, Israelites from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, or Levi. And a white woman is an Edomite. All right, but this woman says something very, in particular. Okay, she says something very, important. If you caught that, if you in the spirit. Let me do this real quick too, Baba Kasha. 1 second.
White guys, I'm team of white guys.
All right. She says something very heavy in the spirit, but the average person might think it's just, she just talking, right? So let's play it again, see what she had to say, and let's add some scriptures.
Black guys.
Can you elaborate as to why specifically black guys?
Yes, black guys are melanated, and I want my children to survive. And I know that the only way for them to survive in the future is for them to have melanin in their skin. So that's the way for me to, make my legacy continue.
Okay, I like.
There you go. Now, Salaki, if I didn't already say it, I'm the brother Ibar next to me.
Brother Nepal.
We're from the Prophets in Babylon camp. We're on the way in transit on the way to camp. About to pick up the brother Yaikwab. So you might hear a little noise, but just real quick, we want to go into this lesson, on the way to camp, concerning what this woman said, because she said something heavy. She said if she wants her legacy to continue, her people to continue, she wants to have children with a so-called black man. All right, and we understand through the scriptures that Esau is about to be eradicated off the face of the earth. The white race is about to be eradicated, and really they're already dying in greater numbers than they're being born. But when a so-called black man has children with a white woman, he brings forth an Israelite seed, a so-called black child. All right. So you are who your father is. And that's something that these nations understand already. They've come to grips, with this whole thing about who Esau is and who Jacob is. They already know who we are. They know who they are. And they understand that if they want to be relevant or exist, they have to, mix, So this only works, though, if it's an Israelite man and a heathen woman. When an Israelite man lays down with a heathen woman, he brings forth an Israelite child, an Israelite seed. So go ahead and grab that first real quick.
This is Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. Mm-hmm. And they declared their pedigrees after their families.
Right. They declared their pedigrees, which when you go into pedigree, it goes into... Grab that in Edomite line, by the way. All right, but it basically goes into race. You're... Like, if you look up the pedigree of a dog, you're trying to find out what kind of dog it is. All right, so in this case, it's talking about the pedigree of men, okay? Of people. All right, you got it?
Yeah, it says pedigree, the genealogical table or chart. It says...
Shalom, bro.
Yeah,
it says what?
It says foot of a crane. It says crane are con.
That's it.
Yeah, that was on there.
Grab it in the blue letter, Baba Kasha. All right, so based off of your pedigree, okay, which is going to go on by the house of your father. So you are who your father is. All right. So this, because they'll try to make it seem like with this whole Pan-Africanism thing, it's about the melanin and the skin. Because you have Jake that'll have a child with a white, a so-called white woman, and a baby is still light skin. Okay, I got nieces and nephews that's like that, yep. But ultimately they are Israelites based off of the bloodline. You got that?
Yep.
What it say?
It says
Strong's H3205 Yalad.
And then it says to bear, bring fruit, beget, gender.
Okay. Well, we don't really say much, but bring that scripture back, Baba Kasha.
It says Numbers chapter 1 verse 18, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families.
After their families. This is to determine what family you come from. This is why you read, you know, in the book about the father of such and such, the father of such and such. You hear that people say that, you know, over there in the ancient world, and even over there in the so-called Middle East. They'll say, they'll as they introduce themselves, they'll say who their father is. Go ahead.
It says, by the house of their father, according to the number of the names, from 20 years old and upward, by their polls.
Right. So the point was by the house of their father. Their pedigree, their race, okay, their ethnicity was determined by the house of your father. It's not the mother. It's not the mother and the father. It's the father. So when she says that she prefers so-called black men, so her children can, you know, remain. And I'm gonna read some of these comments too. Somebody said, I want, quote unquote, I want their genetics is what I heard. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah.
Somebody else said, this is just super weird. Somebody else said, do y'all know that melanin is worth more than gold? Somebody said, listen to what she said. They understand our power more than we do. And that's true. Okay. He says they love the black pole, not the black soul. Wow. You know, and that's true too. You know, these women, they want to, you know, ride Jake, but they don't want to ride with Jake, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, when she said that, you know, she says in order for her legacy to continue on, because she know her people is a dying race.
Yeah.
So in order for it to continue on, you're gonna have to get with a Jake. And when you know this truth, we understand that the Israelites, the so-called Israelite man, or it's like the so-called black man, Hispanic, Native Indian man, okay, are going to be the next rulers of the earth to come. Okay, the kings and priests of the earth. All right, and whoever we have children with, it's going to come back as an Israelite, okay, a king or a princess. That was on that?
That was on that.
Go ahead, bro.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 12 and verse 9. It says, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about her are against her.
That's right. And the Lord's heritage is Israel. So he says, mine heritage is as a speckled bird. So you might see an Israelite that might not look like, you know, Wesley Snipes, but it's an Israelite. Okay, our people were scattered all over the world, and you got Jake making babies all over the world.
Yeah.
So when Jake making babies all over the world, you might have, you know, a Chinese woman and a so-called black man, a Arab woman, okay, an Edomite woman, all right, but those children are still Israelites, okay. So as a speckled bird, it comes in many colors. The Israelites come in many colors. All right, bring that last part back.
It says,
speak up too.
mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye assemble, all the beasts of the field come to devour.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what these nations have done. It said the birds round about are against her, meaning these other nations, they hate us. Okay, they despise us. They all work together in destroying us. Read that in Psalms 83. They were consulted against us. Okay, they all consulted against us, and you know, they pretty much plotted and schemed against us. But now, in these last days, it's being found out who we are, and we're rising to the top. Okay, like Killmonger said, the world is starting over, and this time we're going to be on top. You see, these Edomites, see the black woman, she don't understand a damn thing but a damn quick weave, man. But these other nations women, they understand, you know, they can see power, and they can tell that the power is transferring from their men unto us. Okay, and this is why we go into the campsite. You know, the Lord is establishing his government right now on the earth.
And ultimately, you know, those Edomite women, they always wanted Jake, man. You know, that's why back in the day they would sneak around with Jake and then accuse them of raping them and all different type of things, etc. All right, because they ultimately wanted Jake, man. They knew the genetics that Jake would give them to give to their children. All right, it would you know, ultimately bring, because Jake got a potential of being the top athlete.
Hey, you know, in that movie Get Out, he said that. He said, with your genetics,
exactly,
and my brain,
yep,
you could be a beast. You know. So imagine Jake come back into that power. We're gonna be beast, man.
I just got into a video about that. You know, how there was a track meet they was having. You know, it was to be funny, but it was like they said black Jake. You know, black people versus white people, and you had Jake. You know, the white people started off first. Esau started off first, and Jake caught up like that, man. All right, and it's because, you know, and they already knew they was gonna lose, man. All right. You know, because they was already saying, you know,
it's genetics.
It's the genetics. You know, Esau always say that. You know, oh damn, you know, y'all, we age like old milk and you guys age like fine wine. You know, it's because of our genetics. So Esau, you know, they ultimately envy that.
Judge not according to appearance.
You know, they ultimately envy that, and they want it. You know, so that's why that woman wanted her son or her child to be, you know, have melanin in him. You know, I got a precept as well. If you was done with that,
I got judge not according to appearance really quick.
Go ahead, you go next.
It's the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 24.
Oh, Salaki, real quick though, touching on the point too about the movie Get Out. I watched the movie recently again, and it's very spiritual. But you notice that all those rich Edomites, and even there was a Moabite there, they were all obsessing over Jake. They were all there because they wanted Jake. They wanted, you know, to be Jake. They were admiring him, you know, his body, you know, his genetics, you know, his makeup. They want to be us.
yeah.
You see, they hate us because they ain't us, but because really they want to be us. And then through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, us coming back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to put us back on top over these heathen nations.
Yeah.
All right, and they know this. They already know this, man. Okay, they know it's only a matter of time. They know who our God. See, Esau studies, and that's one thing Esau does too. When he's a great hunter, but a part of him hunting is he studies his prey. You know, and he has studied us. He knows who we are.
Yep.
So when she's saying this, she understands that her race is through. But she know that, like in the movie Get Out, he said black is back in style. I remember when I was younger, bro, a black wasn't in style, bro. Okay? Black wasn't in style. But all of a sudden now black is back in style. You got people, everybody want to be the so-called black man. Because it's a power switch happening in earth. It's all spiritual. Go ahead.
If I may add, you brothers remember we were at camp and this Edomite lady walked past and she was like, I want to go with y'all brothers. If you remember what I'm
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
You know, she was basically saying she want to go be where Jake at because their husbands are dying in greater numbers, man. All right, they tried to say that we were the minority and we're dying in greater numbers that we're being born, which is actually false. Esau can't even reproduce like that, man. Right. That's why their women want to come with Jake.
And because their kingdom is falling.
Yeah.
They recognize their kingdom is falling. It reminds me of that woman that came by the camp 2 years ago. She was in a wheelchair, y'all remember?
Yeah.
And she said she had a dream that it was a bunch of black people at a table and the white people were serving them.
And she wasn't important.
Yeah, she said that she wasn't important in that dream. You know? It was a woman that came into the our camp years ago that said that. She was in a wheelchair, Edomite woman. She said, I had a dream about this. I had a dream that black people were all at a table. Y'all was at a table and the white people were serving y'all. And that's what's coming. All right? That's the reality. Let me grab that real quick.
And ultimately, that's their fear too, man. That's the spirit that, you know, she's an older Edomite lady and she's having a dream about that, man. You know?
It says, Revelation chapter 13, verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Right. Keep bringing that the beginning part back, Bob.
It says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
Right. Esau led us into captivity, man. Esau led the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native American Indians, into captivity, into slavery here in Babylon, man. But y'all gonna be led into captivity, man, through us, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. And we gonna rule y'all and judge y'all in righteousness, man.
That's right. Hey, and nobody wanted to be a nigga in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, man. Nobody wanted to be a nigga in Jim Crow. Nobody wanted to be a nigga when we was in chattel slavery. Okay, but now everybody want to be a nigga because they know that it's time for us to get our payback. All right?
And Esau don't want to pay that tab. He know he has a tab to pay. That's Esau's worst fear, man, that day where he has to get his payback for all he's done to Jake, man.
It says, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Hey, man, when the Lord bestow upon us that power, you devils are going to get it, man. All right, and here it goes on to say, here's the patience and the faith of the saints. We're waiting on this, man.
Right.
We're waiting for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai to give us that spiritual power so we can rule on you devils, man, and rule over y'all with a rod of iron, man.
Right.
We're gonna put you devils under subjection and beat y'all into subjection, man. And the things that y'all did to us, hey, the Lord gonna let us do it to y'all, but in righteousness and double fold at that, man.
That's right. That's right.
Esau's the only nation that's gonna be eradicated, man, because of the iniquities that you have done against the Lord's children.
And that patience goes into suffering. Okay. So we're suffering. We're patiently suffering for this to come. And this is our faith that we know this is going to come. The Lord has showed us the light at the end of this tunnel. In the NLT, it says, anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. So it's not just because you got ears. You got to have ears to hear. It says, and that's why when she said that, it went up a lot of people's head. They think it's just about the melanin. No, it's about the blood, the seed line, because Africans have dark skin, but they're not the chosen. It says, anyone who is destined for prison will be taken to prison. Anyone destined to die by the sword will die by the sword. And I guess in this case, destined is you heathens. Now it's your, because they had something called manifest destiny. Well, there's a manifest destiny part 2. You see, it says, anyone destined to die by the sword will die by the sword. This means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently and remain faithful. Ooh. So go ahead, you got it.
Salaki, I was about to say, this morning I did the lesson 2 on that confidence about that, man. You got to have that confidence, that knowing that the Lord is going to bless us with that power to tread over our enemies, man. Mm-hmm. You got to know that Yahweh Shem Yahushua, his words are faithful and true. All right, these devils are gonna get it, and they're gonna get it the worst way, man. Right. Well, this is what we're patiently waiting for, man. This is what we're suffering, because brothers know the things that we're gonna do because of what the Lord told us, and we have to suffer that out. We got to suffer out this persecution right now, and still go to our enemies for the one of all things. You know, still understand this devil's ruling over us, man. And we can't wait for the day that we're on top, man.
That's right. Well, you got something, bro?
This is Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. It says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself. Mm-hmm. Above all
peculiar
nations.
Means special.
Yeah.
Okay, we are a special people. Okay, unto the Most High God. Yeah. All right. So these other people, they're not special to the Most High as we are. Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead.
You see it in the movies where you probably have like Esau will have a superhero who was from another planet, like Superman or something. All right, and he never knew who he was. All right, but in school when he'd be with the normal people, the humans, all right, he was always better, faster, stronger, you know, everything.
Like I'm watching the anime Baki.
Yeah.
In the first episode, they showed you that how he was in school and he was in PE, mm-hmm. and they was doing the the little the PE conditioning or whatever. Yeah, and he was past. He was beating all the records of the test where they couldn't even measure it. You know they had the long jump. He jumped over the whole sand pit. You know, yeah. He said, "How can I measure that?" You know. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And ultimately, you have it where they don't know. You wouldn't in the movie. They wouldn't know their power, but they will ultimately get to know their power, understand who they are.
Right.
And that's when they get that strength, and they understand that power, and they start taking over the world.
That's right.
All right, and that's what the Lord's doing with us right now. This is a movie, man.
That's right. That's right. It's the Lord's movie.
Esau know that if Jake, was eating healthy, they were.
They came back to their power.
Yeah, they didn't pollute the air and weaken us and nerf our abilities. That Jake will be on top, man. Mm. And that's what they're scared of, man. Esau is terrified of that, bro.
Well, Jake had conquered Rome. Mm-hmm. And that's something that they know that what's happening is that their kingdom is being conquered again. They're losing their kingdom. Now, is it on that?
No, it goes on. It says, above all nations that are upon the face of the earth.
Yeah, we are above all these nations, man. Yeah, that's why when he asked her, who do you prefer? She said a so-called black man, because really we are the greatest nation on the face of the earth. This is why they harvest our organs. We literally have the best organs, the best blood, the richest blood, the best organs. That comes from the so-called black man. Mm-hmm. Okay? So when the Jake go missing and get found with his chest all opened up, all his body parts missing, that shows you that individuals know who we are. Okay, like the guy said in the comment, that melanin is worth more than gold. All right, so we are the special. We are the Most High's jewels. Okay, this is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 2. It says, "Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen." Let's go to verse 1. It says, "The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord and from Yahweh. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised." And now Edomites despise themselves. You see, it was cool to be an Edomite back in the day. Back in the late 1800s to early 1900s. In the
early 2000s.
In the 1940s, 1950s. And then Jake started to come back up, and So now these Edomites, not only are they greatly despised by the whole world, they hate themselves.
Yeah.
They burn in the sun.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's why they say make America great again, man. They want to put you niggas back in slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Cause y'all starting to get a little too comfortable, bro.
Right.
You know, they think Jake's starting to get a little too comfortable. They starting, you know, trying to take over, and they feel that power switching over. All right, so they want Jake back into slavery, back in captivity. All right, where they don't have any means to be able to find this truth. All right, or to be able to figure out who their power is, man. You know. But
it says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Yeah. And that's the spirit of Esau. They think that they're never going to go down, but now they're seeing their downfall. It's starting to manifest.
The curse is starting to come upon them.
Somebody grab that. Deuteronomy 30:7. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. So the Lord is bringing this man down. Okay, he's being found out. Okay, and he's going down. It says, verse 8, shall I not in that day destroy, shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. And this is what's coming. All right, Esau is going to ultimately be eradicated off the face of the earth. That's why you say if she wants her legacy to continue, you know, if she wants any of, you know, her DNA to go forward, she understands she's going to have to mix that with a so-called black man, which is an Israelite. Okay, it says, because if you are, you know, if you are Edomite and you got all, you know, straight Edomite children, you know, all y'all gonna be eradicated. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And they know that they're about to get cut off. They know that they're at the end of the road. Okay. It says, verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. The reward shall return upon thine own head. And they thought that it was going to be able to exterminate us, but now they're being exterminated. Look at the Planned Parenthood. Look at all these, you know, things they put in place to destroy us, and we're still flourishing. Okay, they're poisoning the air, the water, the food, and they're dying in greater numbers than we are. Okay, this is why Trump, you know, administration is talking about offering Edomites $5,000 to have children. This is why he's bringing those South Africans in here, because they're really the minority. All right, they'll use their media and their witchcraft to tell you that you're the minority, that we're the minority, but really they're the minority. Okay, and we are the majority. Okay, just, you know, my mom and both my grandmas had 7 kids. You know, these Edomites, they can't even have, you know, they'll be lucky to have 2 kids, man. And then they have kids and they be all jacked up with, you know, all type of ailments and diseases, you know, Down syndrome and shit. You know, our seed is strong. Jake have babies without even trying. These Edomites, they got to go to a special doctor. They got to do all these crazy things to have babies. You know? Hold on. Stop.
You know, 3 families of Edomites can make up 1 family of Jake. Mm-hmm. You know, 7 times 7 times 7.
Good morning.
That's 21. You know, that's 21. That's 21. You know, Jake in 1 family, bro.
Yeah.
All right. And Esau struggles to make at least 1 child.
Hey, and you know, when we back in power too, because right now Jake be holding off, bro. Jake don't, you know, because of child support and everything else. But we back in power, bro. Every woman we pop is gonna get pregnant, bro. Mm-hmm. You know, Jake can do that now, you know, through the spirit. But you know, really in the kingdom, every woman we pop is gonna get pregnant. It ain't gonna be no condoms. It ain't gonna be no birth control. None of that. Everything we pop is getting pregnant, bro. Okay, heathen, Israelite alike. Okay, and we gonna bring forth our seed through these people. This is why the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. Because the more fruitful we are, the more children we have, which means the bigger our nation becomes. This is why Esau got a law set up here where you can only marry 1 woman. Okay, but you can have a whole relationship, you know, with a damn man. You know, they despise us being fruitful and multiplying, because it's going to pretty much out, you know, or wipe them out, you know. It says, let's get right to the point. It says, verse 17, it says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. It says, and the house of
the Lord's gonna redeem Jake, man. All right, there's gonna be a deliverance upon the house of Zion, and Esau know that time is coming close. They can feel it, bro. All right, how Jake can just freely go out and read scriptures and find out the truth now. All right, it's scary. It's a nightmare to Esau, man.
Right.
You know, so they trying to hurry up and, you know, fulfill their agenda, but the Lord's going to disappoint their devices. You know, their evil schemes that they continue to try to do against Jake. All right, through delivering, you know, his people.
Right. It says, verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh have spoken it.
So Esau's gonna be eradicated, man. All right, erased. You know, they're gonna be overtaken by Jake. You know, the scripture says, "My saints shall take the kingdom," man. All right, so this is right now. You know, Esau's ruling. This is his rulership. All right, but the Lord's gonna have his people take over this place, man. All right, take over Babylon, take over their rulership, man. All right, and Babylon's gonna be utterly destroyed.
Right, and this is also why Jake has such a high sex drive. Okay, these Edomites, they're really, you know, and they're perverts. They're into, you know, boy love. They're into a bunch of weird shit. But Jake has a high sex drive, and Jake desires all kind of women, because that's our nature, is to bring forth more Israelites. You know, but that's what that woman said, that, you know, she wants her legacy to continue. She has to get with a so-called black man, because she understands her race is being wiped out. All right, they're being wiped out, and like I said in the beginning, if a so-called white woman gets with an Israelite man, okay, that child comes out an Israelite. All right, so as it said, and there shall be none remaining of the house of Esau. So there's going to be none remaining of the house of Esau. But if a so-called white woman has a child with a so-called black man, that child is an Israelite. Okay, no matter how it looked, that child is an Israelite. All right, it says, verse 21, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's. You see? And we represent Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So as the kingdom is being established, it's going to be the Lord's kingdom, and it's going to be for the house of Israel, you know, the Lord's people. Okay? Right there, there's an Edomite woman that was walking with a Jake. You know? These Edomite women, they want Jake to breed them. They want Jake to get them pregnant. Okay, and Jake, and you know, a lot of times it be those white men that can't really, make babies. But them Edomite women, they'll get with Jake and get pregnant off the bat. You know.
I still had that.
Go ahead. What you got?
Deuteronomy 7 says, according to appearance.
Speak up, bro, and come up here.
Chapter 30 and verse 7. And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
Break it down.
Oh, go on, bring it back, Salakia.
It says, Deuteronomy 30 and 7, and the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee.
And who are our enemies, man? Esau, Edom, you know, and these heathens. All right, so the Lord's going to put all these curses that we suffer right now upon these heathens, man, upon Esau. And you starting to see that, you know, slowly but surely now. All right, Esau being persecuted by their own people. You know, Esau taking out Esau. They fighting against each other. You know, that's the curse that was put upon Jake. You know, go ahead.
It says on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
And they persecuted us, man. Esau put us through captivity and slavery, and that's another curse that's going to be put, upon them. All right, which is rightfully so, man. All right, these devils put us through all types of hell and made us go through all type of tribulation, and the Lord's going to have them go through the same thing, even worse. All right?
And if I may add, Esau can't have kids like that now, but in the kingdom when we're ruling, y'all going to be able to have kids and bring forth kids because they're going to be our slaves. All right? And that's going to be the only purpose of y'all bringing forth children, is to serve us. Right. Just like how y'all did us back in the plantations and the slave days, we're going to do the same thing to y'all, but in righteousness, man.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to have breeding plantations as well.
Yep.
We're we got you Edomites just there breeding, just making babies so he can enslave y'all more. So every last one of you Edomites are going to come back, you know, over that 1,000-year period of your bondage. You're going to come back and face, you know, judgment. You're going to come back and face, you know, a recompense for all the wickedness you've done unto the children of the Most High. Was it on that?
And I want to grab this. This is the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 24. It says, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Right. So it's not about how somebody looks. Just because they look white don't mean they're necessarily white. You got the whole thing going on. The brothers telling me about the whole, you know, the whole thing about the gingers.
Oh, the ginger heads.
Yeah, redheads. Talking about the redheads are Israelites. You know, because they come from Ireland.
Yeah.
But you had, you know, those Moors in Ireland and Italy that was popping those women. Okay, so a lot of these people that look like so-called Edomites are really Israelites.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of those, it's a trend that's going on about it. You know, it's saying, you know, oh, the gingers are black people. You know, and you know, a lot of those gingers, you know, their spirit bear witness with it, man. They like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? I never really messed with it, you know, the Europeans and stuff like that. It's always so weird to me, you know.
Right.
They may appear to look like them, but they're not alike in spirit, man.
Right, and you always seen that too with a lot of these gingers be hanging out with Jake. Shit, I had a few damn ginger friends when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, and they act, dress, talk just like Jake. That was it. It says 2 Ezra chapter 6 verse 7. It says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the time? Grab that abounds that cannot pass. What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the his first kingdom and rulership, and the beginning of it that followeth?
So what shall be the parting asunder of the times, man? When the shift come, when the kingdom being translated come, man. All right, from Esau to Jacob. You know, when Esau's kingdom is done for. You know, this was a question. Go ahead.
It says, then he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
So Esau is the end of this world, man. All right. So we know that right now we're in Esau's, you know, rulership. We're in his kingdom. All right. And we know that his kingdom is going to come to an end. And after his kingdom, there's going to be Jacob ruling, man. That's when the Lord's going to, you know, put his people in power. You know, and that's what we ultimately wait for. You know, we can ultimately see it through the signs and the prophecies. All right. That's coming to pass. We know that we're in the end times. All right. Go ahead.
That was it on that.
I got this. This is the book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
That's right. The Lord has appointed the bounds this man cannot pass. So they see that, you know, that bounds coming. It's like, you know, if you playing a game and you go out of bounds, it don't count. You know, if you shoot a, you know, the basketball out of bounds, it don't count. You was out of bounds. You know, and then you get penalized. So Esau understands that he's coming to the bounds that he cannot pass. He's through. He's not going to last you know, a year, a month, a week, a day, down to the millisecond. He's not going to go any longer past that bounds that the Lord has set up for him not to pass. So as this man goes down, we go up. Okay, that's why you simple niggas talking about y'all hate the white man, y'all hate the white man. No, nigga, this is about rulership. Okay, if he's in power, if he's the ruler, then we're the servants. And if we're the servants, then if we're in power, we're the rulers, then they're the servants. Would you rather be a servant or a king? But niggas have been completely mind-effed to where they'll rather be a damn servant. And that's why you niggas gonna die here in America with these motherfuckers, and we gonna rise you back up in your right mind. You gonna come back you know, a king, and you gonna be grateful for the men that stood so diligently for Yahweh Shem Yahushai now. All right, that was it on that in my precepts. All right, let's close out. Hey, but yeah, we at the campsite. You know, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the camp. Prayers been edifying to for just a quick one in the spirit on the way to the camp. This video might go up tonight. It might go up tomorrow. You know, so just prayers edifying to for Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Shalom, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Brakatham. Shalom.